My fiancée asked for an open relationship after 5 years. I checked her phone and found she already had someone else. I kicked her out, and when the guy ghosted her weeks later, she came crawling back. But it was already too late. I'm 28 years old. I work in digital marketing, and about 6 months ago, I ended a 5-year relationship with the woman I thought was going to be my wife. Victoria and I had been engaged for about 8 months when everything went to hell. And honestly, I still can't believe how something that seemed so solid crumbled in a matter of days. I guess I should start from the beginning. Or I mean, not from when we met, but from when things started getting weird. Because looking back now, I see all the signs I ignored like an idiot. We met in college, like sophomore year, and we connected immediately. She was studying graphic design and I was in business administration, and we literally spent all our time together. Our friends always said we were the perfect couple, the kind everyone assumes will be together forever. We moved in together after graduation, got a small but nice apartment downtown, and everything just flowed naturally. I'm not gonna lie, we had our fights like any normal couple, but nothing serious, nothing that made me doubt us. When I proposed about a year and a half ago, she cried and said yes without thinking twice, and I was sure I'd made the best decision of my life. Things started changing like 3 months before everything exploded. Victoria went on a trip with her girlfriends, a long weekend at the beach, something they'd been planning for months. I had no problem with it at all. I mean, we'd always been about giving each other space and trusting completely. Friday, she left, super excited, gave me a long kiss at the door and told me I love you. See you Monday. All normal. But when she came back Monday night, something was different. I couldn't explain exactly what it was, but her energy was weird, like distant. I asked her how the trip was and she gave me super vague answers like, oh yeah, it was good, we had fun, None of the details she normally shared about everything. What really caught my attention was the phone. Victoria had never been one of those people glued to their cell phone, but suddenly, she was checking it every 5 minutes. Literally, every 5 minutes. We were watching a movie, and she was there with the screen glow lighting up her face, smiling and typing messages. I asked her who she was talking to so much, and she said, oh, it's the girls' group chat. We're sending each other photos from the trip. I accepted that explanation because I had no reason to doubt, but something in my stomach felt weird, you know what I mean? Like that feeling that something doesn't add up but you can't point out what exactly. About 2 weeks went by like that. Her getting more and more distant, more and more time on the phone, and me starting to get paranoid but not saying anything because I didn't want to be that controlling, insecure boyfriend. Until one Wednesday night, after dinner, Victoria told me we needed to talk about something important. My heart dropped to the floor immediately. Because, when someone says we need to talk, it's never to say something good. We sat on the couch, her with her phone in her hand, squeezing it nervously, and me trying to mentally prepare myself for whatever was coming. What she said left me completely shocked. She looked me in the eyes and just dropped. I've been thinking a lot about us, and I think we should consider having an open relationship. Just like that, out of nowhere. An open relationship. I just sat there processing those words because they literally made no sense in my head. I asked her what the hell she was talking about, and she started with this whole super elaborate explanation about how she'd read about couples who explore non-monogamy and become stronger, how exclusivity sometimes creates unnecessary pressure, all that mumbo-jumbo that sounded like she'd pulled it from some internet article. I just looked at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. I told her no, flat out no, that I didn't want that type of relationship, and if she did, then, clearly, we weren't on the same page. I started asking her where this idea came from so suddenly, because we'd been together 5 years and we'd never talked about anything like this, and now out of nowhere she was suggesting it like it was the most normal thing in the world. She got super defensive, saying she just wanted to explore new ways of relating, that it didn't mean she didn't love me. Basically trying to make me feel like I was the closed-minded one for not being open to the idea. But honestly, I knew in my heart this wasn't about exploring or growing or any of that nonsense. This was about something else. The argument got more and more intense. I asked her directly if there was someone else, if she'd met someone on the trip, and she denied it, but in a way that didn't convince me at all. She had that look people have when they're lying, when they don't look you directly in the eyes and start talking too fast. I told her that if she really wanted an indolores, open relationship, then she could go live that life, but I wasn't going to be part of it. She started getting hysterical, crying and saying she didn't understand why I was being so dramatic, that she'd just proposed a conversation. But it wasn't just a conversation. It was her basically asking my permission to be with other people while we stayed together, and I wasn't stupid enough not to see that. That night, I asked her to leave the apartment. The apartment was in my name anyway, because I'd rented it before we moved in together. So technically, I had every right. She was shocked, like she didn't expect me to react that way, and started begging that we talk about it, that I not make rushed decisions, but I'd already made my decision. I gave her a week to find somewhere to stay and start packing her things. That night, I slept on the couch because I didn't want to be in the same room as her, and honestly, I didn't sleep at all. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how we got to this. The following days were a nightmare. Victoria and her friends started calling and texting me nonstop, like bombarding me with missed calls and long texts, saying I was overreacting, that I should give her another chance. That couples go through crises and get through them. One of her friends, I don't remember which one, sent me a voice message of literally 10 minutes, explaining why I was an asshole for not being willing to listen to Victoria. I blocked most of them, but they kept finding ways to contact me. Victoria cried every night, left notes all over the apartment with apologies and promises that we'd be okay, but I was already mentally checked out. And there was something that just didn't add up in this whole situation, and I needed to know what it was. After like 5 days of this constant drama, Victoria begged me to meet in person to talk, that she owed me a full explanation, and if after that I still wanted to break up, she'd accept it and leave without any more problems. Part of me didn't want to see her at all, but another part needed that closure, needed to understand what the hell had happened. I agreed to meet her at a cafe near the apartment, a public place where I knew she couldn't make too big a scene. It was a Saturday afternoon and the cafe was half full, which gave me some sense of security, I guess. Victoria arrived with swollen eyes from crying so much. She looked terrible, honestly. We sat at a table in the back, and she immediately started with her apologies, saying she'd been an idiot, that she didn't know what she was thinking, that she never should have suggested the open relationship thing. I just listened without saying much, waiting for her to get to the point. After like 10 minutes of this, I told her I wanted to see her phone. Her face changed immediately. She went pale and asked me why, that it had nothing to do with anything. I told her that if she really wanted me to consider giving her another chance, I needed to see her. Phone right now. She hesitated. Said that was invasion of privacy, but I stood firm. Finally, after what seemed like forever, she unlocked her phone and passed it across the table. I didn't have to look much. I opened WhatsApp and there it was, a conversation with a contact saved as Lucas with a heart emoji next to it. I started reading and I literally felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. Super flirty messages, her telling him she couldn't stop thinking about him telling her the weekend had been amazing, her sending him photos of herself. Thank God they weren't explicit photos, but still. Basically a whole conversation of two people who clearly had something going on. The messages dated from Friday of the trip until that very day. There were messages from the night before where she was telling him she was trying to fix things with me, but didn't know if she could, and him responding that he hoped she made the right decision. I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe what I was seeing. I looked up and Victoria was crying, covering her face with her hands. I asked her who Lucas was, and she could barely speak through sobs. She finally admitted she'd met him on the trip, that they'd connected and since then they'd been talking. She said they hadn't done anything physical, though honestly I didn't believe her, that they'd only talked and flirted. But she realized she had feelings for him, and that's why she'd proposed the open relationship thing, because she wanted to explore that but without losing me. Can you believe it? She wanted to keep me as a backup plan, while she saw if things worked out with the other guy. I felt so betrayed, so used, so stupid for all those years together. I gave her back the phone and got up from the table. She tried to grab my arm, but I pulled away and told her we were done. That we were definitely done. And I didn't want to see her or hear from her ever again. I left the cafe without looking back, even though I could hear her calling me. I walked back to the apartment with my hands shaking, trying to process everything I'd just discovered. When I got there, I started packing all her stuff myself because I didn't want to wait for her to do it. Boxes and more boxes with her clothes, her books, her decorative stuff, everything. I worked like possessed for hours until I had everything packed and ready for her to take. That night I blocked her everywhere. WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, her phone number, everything. I also deleted all our photos together from my social media because I didn't want any reminders of her. It was liberating in a way, but also painful because I was erasing 5 years of my life. My friends texted me asking what had happened because obviously they noticed something was wrong, and I explained the situation generally without going into too many details. Most of them supported me completely, said I'd done the right thing, and Victoria was selfish. But some mutual friends tried. To play the well, there's always two sides to every story card, which annoyed me quite a bit. What happened next was almost comical if it wasn't so pathetic. Like 3 days after we broke up, Victoria started posting photos on Instagram with Lucas. Yeah, the same Lucas she'd been flirting with behind my back. Photos of them holding hands, hugging, kissing, with super cheesy captions like "found my person" and "finally happy." I couldn't see them directly because I'd blocked her, but mutual friends sent them to me like, "Can you believe this?" The speed with which she went from begging me for another chance to publicly dating the other guy was impressive, honestly. It pissed me off, but also gave me clarity that I'd definitely done the right thing, ending everything. But here comes the best part. Like a week after they officially started dating, Lucas completely ghosted her. Just like that, out of nowhere. A friend who knew someone who knew Lucas told me that basically the guy only wanted something casual. And when Victoria started getting super intense and dependent, he got scared and stopped talking to her. She deleted all the photos of them from her social media, and from what I heard, she spent several days locked up at her parents' house crying. Part of me felt a petty satisfaction hearing that, I'm not gonna lie, but another part just felt sorry because in the end, she destroyed a 5-year relationship for someone who didn't even really want her. Obviously, Victoria tried to contact me after that. She sent me long emails, messages from unknown numbers, even asked her sister to call me. All the messages basically said the same thing, that she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, that I was the love of her life, that Lucas meant nothing, that she begged me to forgive her and let her come back. I didn't respond to a single one of those messages. Not one. Not because I wanted to be cruel, but because there simply was nothing to say. She'd shown her true colors, and there was no going back from that. Like 2 weeks after I blocked her, Victoria finally came to pick up her stuff. I told her through a message from my brother's number to leave the boxes at the door on a specific day, at a specific time, and that's what she did. I put all the boxes outside, locked the door, and stayed inside until I heard she'd taken them. It was our last in-person encounter, if you can even call it an encounter when we didn't even see each other's faces. I found a note in one of the boxes that said, "Benjamin, please give me another chance. I love you." I threw it in the trash without thinking twice. The following months were weird. I canceled all the shared subscriptions we had, Netflix, Spotify, HBO, everything. I changed the passwords to everything, just in case. I also cut contact with several mutual friends who stayed close to her, not because I hated them, but because I needed that clean space to heal. Some understood. Others got upset and told me I was being immature, but honestly, I didn't care. My mental health was more important than maintaining friendships that clearly weren't on my side. What did bother me was finding out later that Victoria had been telling her version of the story to everyone who'd listen, a version where I was the villain. According to her, I was controlling and had thrown her out of the house for no reason, that she'd only wanted to have an adult conversation about exploring new dynamics, and I'd exploded. That there'd never been anything with Lucas. That they were just friends and I'd misinterpreted everything because of my insecurities. Total lies, but some people believed her, especially those who didn't know me that well. There was drama in friend groups, people taking sides, a whole unnecessary show. Eventually, the drama calmed down when people got bored of the subject, but it left me with a bitter taste seeing how someone who claimed to love me could lie so blatantly about me. Now, 6 months later, I can say, I'm much better. I'm not gonna lie and say it was easy or that I got over it quickly, because it wasn't like that. There were nights where I stayed awake, questioning everything, wondering if there were signs I missed before, if I could have done something different. But with time, I understood it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. She was the one who made the decision to look for someone else while we were still together. She was the one who lied. She was the one who betrayed 5 years of trust for a guy she met on a weekend. I sold the engagement ring. I wasn't going to keep it. I sold it and used the money to take a trip with my brothers to the mountains, something I desperately needed. I've focused on my work, on my hobbies, on reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. I also started therapy because I felt I needed to process all this with someone professional, and it's helped quite a bit, honestly. My therapist told me what Victoria did was projection, that she probably felt something was missing in the relationship, but instead of communicating it honestly, she looked for external validation and then tried to make me feel like I was the problem for not accepting her terms. The last time I heard anything about Victoria was like 2 months ago. A mutual friend told me she's dating someone new, another guy she met at her work. I didn't feel anything when they told me, not anger or sadness or anything. It was just like, oh, okay. And that's when I really knew I'd closed that chapter completely. I don't hold a grudge, but I also have no interest in having contact with her again. Some people come into your life to teach you lessons, and Victoria definitely taught me to trust my instincts and not ignore red flags just because you love someone. My parents told me they're proud of how I handled everything, that it was mature of me to cut things off cleanly instead of staying in a relationship where there was no respect. My mom always tells me the right person will come when it's the right time, and I suppose she's right, though for now I'm not looking for anything. I'm still healing. I'm still learning to trust again, and that's okay. There's no rush. Sometimes I wonder if Victoria truly regrets it, or if she only regretted it because things with Lucas didn't work out. I'll probably never know, and honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I have my apartment to myself, I have my friends, my family, my job, and for the first time in months, I can say I'm genuinely happy. It's not an explosive happiness like euphoria, but a quiet peace of knowing I made the right decision, and my life is going to be fine without her. And that, for me, is enough.